With no end in sight to the political crisis in Myanmar, some members of the Southeast Asia regional bloc, ASEAN, are raising voice over the group's no-interference policy. Malaysia has said that ASEAN should do some soul-searching on its policy on not interfering in members' internal affairs.
Reminded the meeting that ASEAN is about 10 member states. As much as the issue in Myanmar is local and national, but it has impact on the region, and we should also recognize the concerns of the other 9 member states. And I also stated the fact that we cannot use the principle of non-interference as a shield to avoid issues being addressed. So I would like to then invite you to perhaps look into the possibility that maybe this is now time for ASEAN to do serious soul-searching on the application of the principle of non-interference and look at other experiences of other regions.
Last week, the bloc excluded Myanmar's junta leader Min Aung Hlaing from the Leaders' Summit. Hlaing has been accused of failing to defuse the crisis, which began with a military coup in February this year. He was excluded after the junta refused to allow an ASEAN special envoy to meet with the ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi. Myanmar then accused ASEAN of violating its decade-old policy of not meddling in domestic affairs of the member states. The Southeast Asian bloc has been under international pressure to address the military's brutal crackdown on dissent in Myanmar. Diplomatic sources claim that Malaysia, Indonesia and the Philippines and Singapore pushed for tough action. Meanwhile, junta has arrested more than 100 anti-coup protesters again. This is according to a local monitoring group that tracks detentions and killings in the country. Myanmar has been dealing with the political crisis since Aung San Suu Kyi was ousted. More than 1,100 people have been killed and over 8,000 have been arrested. The military released around 5,000 jailed anti-junta protesters. In June, more than 2,000 anti-coup protesters were released. This included journalists critical of the military government. Meanwhile, Suu Kyi remains on trial on a number of charges ranging from sedition to breaching coronavirus restrictions. We're now being joined by Azmi Hassan, political analyst for Kuala Lumpur. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, what message does ASEAN want to send to Myanmar by not inviting a representative from the military-led junta for the ASEAN summit?
A few months ago, 9 ASEAN members, Myanmar, the junta made a promise that they will make improvement on the situation. But after 3 months, 4 months, nothing happened. And I think especially Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, and Indonesia are quite fed up with the Myanmar situation, where they did not keep their promise. So I think this is a very hard decision made by the ASEAN to portray that their unhappiness, the promise that junta made a few months ago, was not kept.
Right. Will the member nations of ASEAN want to expel Myanmar over the issue of human rights abuses?
I don't think so. Even the countries such as Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore and Thailand, which are very critical of the junta, I don't think so it will come to the decision that Myanmar will be expelled. Now, Malaysia was one of the countries that sponsored Myanmar into our membership 12, 13 years ago. But I think it won't come to a situation that Myanmar will be expelled from ASEAN. I think we haven't arrived at that particular juncture as yet.
Also, do you think not inviting the military junta will push Myanmar closer to China?
In a way, maybe yes and maybe no. No, I don't think so. I think within ASEAN, there are nations that are very close to China, especially when you talk about the South China Sea. But again, this particular pressure, there is no reason, because Myanmar is already close to China in terms of their relationship, economic relationship. Again, I think this won't push Myanmar to be closer to China. I don't think so. This will be the push factor for them to be closer to China.
All right, Mr. Azmi Hassan, thank you so much for joining us with all the updates on that. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.